Hello, dear soul, and welcome to the Lightbearer's Library. Today's journal entry is all about reading. Recently, in the last couple days, I picked up a new book from the library called Fool's Errand. It's the book one in Robin Hobb's second trilogy of a series, and it's absolutely so awesome, and I will say that, it says on the cover, it's one of those a stay up until 2 a.m. to finish type of book. And it certainly is one of those books. But I wanted to talk about how reading is an incredible thing for ourselves and for the world that we live in. I think that more people should be reading fiction, but a specific kind of fiction. I think that if we all read more, we would be more empathetic. And I've been speaking lately about personality type in my entries, and I think this goes along well with that, because when we immerse ourselves inside a book and we are taking on the lens of usually the main character, we start to see the world through someone else's eyes, as if we are, with them, and so we can start to see how other people around us in this world may be seeing the world differently from us, and we can learn from the characters in the books about how to have empathy with their friends who we might disagree with in our own values and feelings, but we can see how that character, embraces their friends, or whatever the case may be. But there's been lots of studies that have shown that readers have more empathy than non-readers. So I would suggest that the world would be a kinder, more empathetic place if we were reading more. So that's kind of my first thought about reading. Well, I have many thoughts, but I've tried to come to a few thoughts. I also think that in this time, the world is very scattered. People's attention is being drawn in every which way, and whatever that might be. And I think we need to start bringing our attention back towards ourselves, so that we can be calmer, we can have better thinking skills, better feeling skills, better cognitive function skills. So thinking, feeling, intuition, and sensing. I think if we were less scattered and our attention was less drawn out into the world and we had more of it, we could consciously focus our attention on what we choose to focus our attention on. I think we'd have a better, calmer place. So I think that there are practices out there, and I've done them. Meditation, for instance, where you sit and, there's all sorts of different kinds and ways of doing meditation. But I think for most of us in this world, where our attention is so scattered, to ask people to sit quietly and not do anything, not have, the phone or whatever it is it's too high a bar. So I feel like reading is a way of placing our attention on something, and it's attention grabbing. Stories, a good story, pulls us in and allows a whole world to unfold. So I would like to suggest that an incredible way of bringing our attention back to ourselves is to read. So finding a good book, well, that's a whole story in itself, isn't it? About how to find good books. But yeah, I might leave that till later. And then thirdly, I find that, it can lessen our loneliness, or at least my loneliness. When I read books, especially if I'm rereading books, or I'm like the book I'm reading, it's, she's written these, I think, 3 trilogies, but they're all the same, so it's kind of like, I'm not entirely certain why she decided to do that, but this is the 4th book in the series, so the characters are familiar, and the landscape is familiar, the place names, and so the world inside of in my head that she's written about is all there. So the characters help me to have. It's a safe way to have other people in our lives. Sometimes circumstances might lead us to not have many people in our lives, and or the people in our lives, don't necessarily understand us or get us. So it's a nice way to find comfort in human character relations, as opposed to what I've heard about, with people chatting to ChatGPT, and I think I think there's some danger in that. And I'll go into that in maybe another day. But I think with characters in books, they're written by a human mind, and so there's that humanity there. And so I guess those are the 3 things I was thinking that books do to help, us be more focused and have more attention, and for us to be kinder to others and more empathetic. So I would like to suggest that if you are not currently reading and would like to read, that one of the easiest ways is, if you like to read as a kid, I kind of assume if you're here, you maybe did, because I loved reading as a kid. It was my everything, like it was trouble getting me to come to the dinner table because I had a book, and but I was thinking about this, and thinking about reading like we're young again. So rereading books that we read as children, to kind of get back into the world of reading, or young adults is kind of what I'm thinking, and that. Or perhaps finding a new book by an author that you used to read that you haven't read of theirs. And I was also thinking that oh well, I can't remember now, but that because it's just so overwhelming to look for books right now. There's just so many everywhere, so many of everything everywhere, and it's kind of difficult to choose. So I would say going back to series that you read as a kid is great, and but yeah, I think kind of being able to read books from our past can bring us into that childlike sense of wonder and awe, and so we can come back to what it is to be human again, and to find joy and wonder. So those are kind of my thoughts on reading and why we should all be reading more books. And one last thing. It's also a quiet activity. It turns off all of the sensory things outside of us. I think we're just bombarded by noise and overstimulation of music and podcasts and video games and movies, and I think that reading is a quiet way of bringing our sensory, our auditory and our eyes kind of into a place of stillness. yeah, I think that it helps us also to grow in our imaginations and yeah, can grow. So I would offer that to you, and if you want to start reading again, I know if you're, not used to reading, it can be a difficult thing to hone your attention, but I would offer that, turn off everything, turn off your phone, even just for, whatever it is, pick a set amount of time, I want to read half an hour, or I want to read so many pages, or I want to read a chapter a day, and just try just a little bit at a time, and find a captivating story with good character development, and yeah, go from there. So I would love to hear from you in the comments about if you are currently reading, what you're reading, and if you're not reading, what you might like to read or what you liked as a kid. I'd just love to hear about your reading experience. So let me know, and I love hearing from you. And that's it for me for today. Signing off, XOXO, Kate.